a comprehensive and detailed explanation of the book Disruptive Thinking by Thomas D. Jakes. The book Disruptive Thinking by T.D. Jakes is a book that aims to radically change the way you think, so that you transform from a person who follows traditional rules to a person who is able to reshape the reality around him. The author explains that transformational thinking is not just a passing idea, but rather a life approach that helps you overcome obstacles, create new opportunities, and achieve success you never imagined. In this explanation, we will review each chapter in detail, analyzing the most prominent ideas, examples, and strategies that the author presents. Chapter 1. What is transformative thinking? The author begins by defining the concept of transformational thinking, which is the ability to look at problems and opportunities from completely different angles. The main idea is that the traditional way of solving problems or achieving success may not always be the best, and that it is necessary to break old mental models and rebuild new ways of thinking and working. The most important ideas in this chapter. Transformative thinking begins when you feel dissatisfied with the current situation and look for innovative alternatives. Real change doesn't come from simple improvement. It comes from completely reshaping the rules. Most people fear transformational thinking because it requires taking risks and stepping out of their comfort zone. An example given by the author. The author cites the story of Steve Jobs, who not only tried to improve smartphones, but also redefined the entire concept of the phone, leading to the emergence of the iPhone that changed the world. Chapter 2. How to become a transformational thinker. The author explains that transformational thinking is not a talent that some are born with, but rather a skill that anyone can develop if they adopt the right mindset. The basic steps to developing transformational thinking. 1. Break old habits. You must stop repeating the same methods and expecting different results. 2. Allow yourself to fail. Transformational thinking requires trial and error, and failure is an essential part of success. 3. Ask the right questions. Instead of asking, "How can I improve this?" ask, "Is there a completely new way to do this?" 4. Free yourself from fear. One of the biggest obstacles to transformational thinking is the fear of failure or the perception of others. An example provided by the author. He talks about how Elon Musk did not only seek to improve electric cars, but he thought about redefining the concept of transportation entirely, which led to the founding of Tesla and SpaceX. Chapter 3. The right environment for transformational thinking. To become a transformational thinker, you need an environment that supports it. You cannot develop a new mindset while living in an environment full of negative beliefs or people who fear change. Elements of a transformational environment. 1. Supportive people. You need people who believe in your vision and help you grow. 2. Eliminate negative influences. Negative people will always try to convince you that your ideas are illogical or impossible. 3. Continuous learning. Reading, attending courses, and following developments help you expand your mind. 4. Experiment and modify. Never stop trying and adapting to new circumstances. Example provided by the author. He cites the story of Mark Zuckerberg, who founded Facebook in an academic environment that encouraged innovation and experimentation, which helped him transform his small idea into a global platform. Chapter 4. Challenging the ordinary and changing the equation. In this chapter, the author talks about how success in transformative thinking requires challenging all the traditional rules that limit you. How to challenge the ordinary. 1. Don't accept the status quo. Just because something has been done the same way for years doesn't mean it's right. 2. Look for unconventional solutions. Think outside the box and come up with new ways to solve problems. 3. Avoid groupthink. When everyone agrees on a certain idea, there may be an opportunity to rethink it from a new perspective. 4. Be bold in making decisions. Change requires courage, so don't be afraid to make unconventional decisions. Example provided by the author. He cites the story of Richard Branson, who challenged the traditional rules of aviation and founded Virgin Atlantic, an airline that revolutionized the air travel experience. Chapter 5. Turning obstacles into opportunities. Obstacles and challenges are not obstacles, but opportunities for transformational thinking. How to benefit from obstacles. 1. Change the way you look at problems. Instead of seeing them as barriers, see them as opportunities to create new solutions. 2. Use available resources wisely. You don't always need huge budgets or big support, but smart thinking. 3. Learn from failure. Every failed experience contains a lesson that can push you forward. An example provided by the author. He talks about how Uber didn't see traditional taxis as just a business model that could be improved, but rather saw an opportunity to create a completely new transportation system based on technology. Chapter 6. Transformational Thinking in Leadership. Effective leadership requires a transformational mindset, whether you run a company, a team, or even your personal life. Transformational leadership styles. 1. Motivate others to think differently. Don't impose your ideas, but encourage others to rethink their ways. 2. Create an environment that supports innovation. Make it okay to try new ideas and fail sometimes. 3. Communicate clearly. People need to understand your vision in order to support it. 4. Make bold decisions. Don't be afraid to make tough decisions if they are in the interest of positive change. An example given by the author. He cites the story of Steven Spielberg, who revolutionized the film industry by adopting bold new ideas in directing and producing. Conclusion. Think transformatively. Live exceptionally. The author concludes the book with a powerful call for the reader to apply transformational thinking in their daily lives. Change does not come from wishful thinking, but from taking bold, thoughtful steps toward achieving your goals. Key final messages. Don't let fear stop you from trying new ideas. Transformative thinking is not just a theory, it's a way of life. The world is changing rapidly, and those who do not change their thinking will remain behind. Yower's summary. Disruptive thinking is a practical guide to changing the way you think, embracing innovation, and creating a future that is completely different from what you expected. The author encourages you to reject conventional thinking, face challenges, and embrace change as an opportunity for growth and success. Highlights of Disruptive Thinking by Thomas D. Jakes. The book is filled with real-life stories that illustrate how transformative thinking can change the lives of individuals, businesses, and communities. The author uses these stories to convey his main message. If you want to succeed and grow, you have to break traditional rules and rethink everything in a new and bold way. 1. The story of the little boy who saw what adults did not see. Main idea. How a different vision can open up new horizons for solving problems. Story details. TD. Jakes tells the story of a little boy who was walking with his father on a street, and suddenly the child pointed to something strange on the ground. But it was not clear to adults. The father did not care at first, but when he looked closely, he discovered something he had not seen before. The message of the story. Children have an innate ability to see things from a new perspective because they have not yet learned the traditional rules. Disruptive thinking requires getting rid of the mental restrictions that prevent us from seeing opportunities from different angles. Sometimes solutions are right there in front of us, but we don't see them because we are used to thinking in a certain way. 2. Nelson Mandela's story, how he turned prison into a school for transformative thinking. Main idea. How to turn the worst circumstances into an opportunity for change and development. Story details. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years on Robben Island, but he didn't see prison as the end of his life, but rather as an opportunity to rethink everything. Instead of wallowing in anger or despair, he decided to use the time to learn, plan, and develop a new philosophy of life and leadership. He began reading books, thinking about how to reform the system that imprisoned him. He built relationships with his jailers, trying to understand their perspectives. He emerged from prison not only as a political leader, but as a man with a transformative vision that changed South Africa and the world. The message of the story. Difficult circumstances are not a reason to give up, but can be an opportunity to think anew. Transformative thinking requires patience, learning, and deep analysis. Great people don't let reality define their future. They reshape reality itself. 3. Uber story. When taxi became a revolutionary idea. The main idea: how rethinking an old service can revolutionize the market. Story details. Don't. Before Uber, taxi services had been operating in the same traditional system for years. Travis Kalanick and Garrett Camp thought differently. Why should a person own a taxi to work in transportation? They decided to create an app that allowed anyone with a car to become a driver, which completely changed the concept of transportation. Despite initially rejecting the idea, Uber is now a multi-billion-dollar company that has changed the way people move around the world. The message of the story. Transformative ideas aren't always completely new, but they redefine old ways in a different way. Resistance from the traditional market doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It might just mean it's so revolutionary that people haven't caught on yet. Outside-the-box thinking can transform an entire industry. 4. The story of how Netflix transformed the movie and TV industry entirely. The main idea: how can a small company outperform the industry giants just by thinking differently? Story details. In the 1990s, people relied on renting movies from video stores like Blockbuster. A small company called Netflix decided to change the idea. Why should people go to the store to rent movies? Why not deliver them by mail? Later, when the internet began to develop, Netflix thought of streaming movies directly online instead of sending DVDs. At first, investors didn't believe in the idea, but today Netflix is one of the largest media companies in the world, while Blockbuster went bankrupt. The message from the story. Transformational thinking means anticipating change, not just adapting to it after it happens. Don't be afraid to change your entire business model if you see a new opportunity. Change is always happening, and companies that don't keep up with it will fade away. 5. The story of Henry Ford. Why didn't people ask what they wanted? Main idea: sometimes people don't know what they want until they see it. Story details. When Henry Ford first started developing cars, people relied on horse-drawn carriages. Ford famously said, "If I asked people what they wanted, they would have said they wanted faster horses." Instead of improving the carriage system, he decided to completely rethink transportation. The result: the invention of the modern automobile, which changed the world forever. Story message. Sometimes transformative thinking means offering something completely new, even if no one is asking for it yet. Innovation doesn't just mean improving what is already there. It can mean creating something completely new. Don't always rely on what people want. Think about what they might need, but don't yet know they have. Conclusion. How can you apply these stories to your life? Each of these stories holds an important lesson that can be applied to your personal and professional life. 1. Change the way you see problems, because the solution may be right there in front of you, but you don't see it. 2. Use obstacles to your advantage, like Nelson Mandela did in prison. 3. Don't be afraid to challenge conventional wisdom, because the old way may not be the best way. 4. Be prepared to anticipate change rather than trying to adapt to it after it's too late. 5. Invent solutions to problems that people haven't yet recognized, like Henry Ford and Netflix. These stories demonstrate that transformational thinking is not just a theory, but a way of life that leads to unprecedented innovation, progress, and success.